it take for you to justify a murder? Would it be self-defense, vigilante retribution, a horrendous crime? What about an opinion? Is there an opinion so diametrically opposed to your own that it would justify taking someone's life? It appears that for many Americans, that is the case. Violence has long been an unwelcome feature of American political life, but in this new era, many appear to be dismissing it with an air of detached amusement, or worse, even cheering it on.
Why can none of you aim across a grassy knoll in the back of a moving car? We were real Americans.
We're not having a battle of ideas here. People are engaged in physical combat, real acts of terrorism, each trying to be the one that blows the powder keg, leading us into a true war with one another. So how did this happen? Is there any coming back from it? And are we truly living in unique times, or has our exposure to tragedy made us more aware of it? My name is Maggie, and this is Check Your Premises. Today, I want to talk about the recent spate of political terrorism in this country. Last month, April 2026, the White House Correspondents' Dinner was thrown into disarray when a gunman rushed security, firing his weapon. He was a school teacher from California and a participant in the recurring No Kings protests against Donald Trump. Sitting behind the doors he attempted to bypass was every senior Trump administration official and the press gathered in what now seems like, frankly, a very insecure room. The White House Correspondents' Dinner has been held for over 100 years. It's a roast of the political elite, including the president himself, and a celebration of press freedom. This gunman silenced discourse between two opposing sides that night and committed the third assassination attempt on President Trump's life in 2 years. In attendance was the newly widowed Erica Kirk, who the internet mocked for leaving in tears later that night. Last September, a gunman shot and killed Erica's husband, Charlie Kirk, during a student event at Utah Valley University. There were cameras everywhere, and footage blanketed the timeline. But despite the fact that we saw in graphic detail a bullet enter the neck of an immensely impactful and sincere conservative leader, we did not, in fact, come together or cool down. Everything seemed to get worse. We've seen a rise in conspiratorial thinking and finger pointing, and the emergence of that trademark detached amusement I discussed earlier. A smirk that appears on the faces of young people who are delighted that their political opposition can no longer speak. And now, less than a year since Charlie's death, his widow has become the victim of internet bullying, and the audio of his assassination has become a TikTok trend for teenagers going to prom.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Have we lost our minds and our marbles? What happened to the America where we see humanity in each other? Did that America ever really exist? Mark Andreessen had a very interesting take on this issue, arguing that political violence is actually getting less bad because the internet acts as a pressure release valve.
It was not that long ago, grown men in serious positions of power and authority in the US got mad at each other and would literally have a physical duel. And that was like a normal part of life. If you're sitting at home scrolling social media getting mad, at least you're not out on the street like hurting people. The fact that political violence is like an all-time low in Western society is something that people really don't talk about.
From a historical perspective, yes, we are rising above. As he mentioned, I doubt we'll have politicians having armed duels anytime soon. I certainly hope we won't see bombings, kidnappings, and other guerrilla group activities like we did in the 60s and 70s, but I think we're cultivating some secret third thing, and I don't like that either. Threats against public officials have gone up in the past decade, and in that same time, data collected by Cato does show an uptick in political violence. But we are comparing that to the past 50 years, and it still remains quite rare. What we're reacting to now is the normalization of it all. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death, Utah Governor Spencer Cox wrote, "For the last 33 hours, I had been praying that this person, who murdered Charlie Kirk, was from another country, that he was not one of us, because we are not like that. But it was one of us. We are not like that. At least, we weren't. I don't remember growing up in a country where murder was justifiable. In fact, the first time I remember someone bringing a gun to a word fight was the Charlie Hebdo massacre. To refresh your memory, on January 7th, 2015, French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo was targeted by Islamic terrorists. The publication was a fierce defender of free speech, and they routinely broke one of Islam's cardinal rules to not visually depict the Prophet Muhammad. Charlie Hebdo wanted to push the boundaries and reassert France as a place of freedom from religious domination. But this was not acceptable for the two brothers who shot the magazine's bodyguard, editor Stéphane Charbonnier, 4 cartoonists, and several others, as they shouted, "We have avenged the Prophet Muhammad." Unlike today's aftershocks of violence, after the Charlie Hebdo shootings, there was a concerted effort to unify. Save for maybe a few niche columnists and extremist Islamists, people were not saying they deserved it. At the Golden Globes, celebrities like George Clooney preached religious unity, free speech, and Don Penn sang, "Je suis Charlie." That same slogan was used by few in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death. In fact, many Americans expressed openly that Charlie somehow deserved what happened to him. I wonder how they'd feel about the Charlie Hebdo massacre if it took place today. And I have reason to suspect they would feel differently. We've all heard ad nauseum that political polarization is growing in this country, but it's deeper than that. Not only can we not agree on opinions about facts, 8 in 10 Americans say we don't even agree on what the facts are, period. We spend a lot of time in highly curated virtual worlds, manipulated to our own tastes and preconceived ideas by algorithms. Lack of exposure means we're more likely to squeeze people into boxes that are easier to demonize. According to a study run by the SNF Agora Institute at Johns Hopkins, nearly half of Americans believe people who belong to the other political party are downright evil. About 3/4 of Republicans and Democrats think political violence comes from the other side, and only 1/4 to 1/3 say the call is coming from inside the house. This is a society primed for war against itself. The question is whether or not that war is actually happening in real life, or if it's a virtual war of words. These acts of political violence are coming from one-off terrorists, some inspired by others, but the reaction to it makes it feel like there are armies waiting to deploy at the drop of a hat. The justification of violence terrifies us, as it should. It makes it seem like there are random people on the street who don't see us as human. If people celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, what horrors could they justify happening to me? Many see a gun not only as an argument, but as a microphone now. Luigi Mangione was a turning point for America. What happens when a young man can allegedly murder a healthcare CEO in broad daylight and receive praise from the public? Those of us who looked rationally at the crime, without unloading our complicated feelings about America's healthcare system onto Brian Thompson, could see clearly that Mangione would create copycats. To this day, hordes of horny women are doing PR for an alleged murderer, completely disregarding that a family is now without a father, friends without a confidant, and that this murder would create a ricochet effect devastating so many others. The man accused of starting the Palisades fire was reportedly fixated on Luigi Mangione. Actions have consequences. The normalization of terrorism begets more terrorism. Ultimately, the vitriol and destruction coming from these people is completely counterproductive. It gives people a martyrdom complex and they dig in their heels. In instances where censorship appears successful, it's a facade. As philosopher David Kelly has argued, a threat is not an argument, a club is not a reason. If I persuade you of something by means of threats, I have not given you a reason for thinking the proposition is true. I have simply scared you into thinking, or at least into saying, it is true. Ayn Rand also put it more succinctly in John Galt's speech in Atlas Shrugged. Force and minds are opposites. Morality ends where a gun begins. A gun is not an argument. Whether or not Mark Andreessen's theory that the internet acts as a place to let off steam rather than as a terrorist incubator remains to be seen. I'm not totally convinced, but I do think we may be overestimating how fractured our country truly is. The internet is not real life, no matter how indistinguishable the two feel sometimes. Families are still gathering around tables together, friends of different persuasions still chat. And most importantly, this is not the first time we've been through tough times together. Every life lost is an absolute tragedy. But is it over for our country? Are we headed towards total civil war? Absolutely not. But it will take serious concerted effort on the part of individuals to model tolerance, empathy, and civil discourse as we find a way to get out of this political muck. You do not need to endorse lies about the world. You don't have to change your opinions to match your opponents, but you do have to accept their right to hold and propagate their own beliefs. We are not marching towards the end times. The devastation of America is not inscribed in stone. We control the future, and maybe our scope of influence is quite small, but it still matters. If you like this video, please give it a like and follow the channel for more content like this. And if you hated this video, we can peacefully argue in the comments below. I'll see you all next week. Ciao.